Live, and I don't see anything just yet. But
It is in fact
welcome.
live.
All right, and I'm going to get started. So, welcome back to Keepers of the Word. You're here with Mike, Ron, and James. We put together a nice show today about Enlil&Enki. But before we get to it, we'd like to thank you for listening. Make sure you follow us on all social media outlets, Twitch being our favorite. Hit the subscribe button, turn on your notifications to stay to date with our content. So, the views and topics of Keepers of the Word are solely our opinions and do not reflect the opinions of any Masonic Lodge or Grand Lodge. The disclaimer's done. Ron, how are you doing?
What's up, man?
James,
In the house.
I'm going to let you pick it up from here.
Hello. Tonight we're going to be
Keep
talking
going,
about
James.
we're going to be talking about Enki and Enlil. These are the staple gods of the Sumerians. These are the two main guys that the majority of the early stories revolve around. Enki, we'll start off with Enki. Enki's one of my favorite gods from the Sumerian. He's a pretty cool guy. He's the god of water, knowledge, mischief, crafts, and creation. He's also known as Poseidon. Most people know him as that one there. He basically resides in the ocean. The ocean is his domain. His children were Marduk, who's a very popular guy later on in Sumerian history, Ninzar, Ninkura, Utu, and Ninti. Enki is a really cool creator guy. He basically created humans, or the first worker or man called Adapu or Adapa, depending on how it's spelled. He's also the one later on who helped some guy basically avoid the flood. He spoke through a reed hut and whispered into his ear. His name would have been Noah. So basically, he's the one who told Noah, "Hey man, there's a flood coming. You gotta build something there. Gotta build a little floaty device to get away from the deluge that was gonna show up because Enlil was a little angry."
And why was he angry?
You know, it's funny too because you can kind of see this story echoed in homages to the Sumerian text in Egyptian. But basically, Enki, the short version, Enlil gets upset that he can hear the humans. The humans are too loud. At nighttime, he can hear them partying. He doesn't want them around no more. This is reflected in the Egyptian kings and pharaohs' time, where basically the king of the north wanted to subjugate the southern part of Egypt and said, "Your hippos are too loud," and went and destroyed them all. So basically, he was trying to take that story and claim it as his own, like he had power. But so basically, what ended up happening is after Enki had made the humans and allowed them to multiply afterwards, the first humans could not multiply. So they had to be handmade or incubated for 9 months. And then
Out of the mud.
I'm sorry?
Out of the mud.
Out of the mud.
clay.
Correct, yeah.
It was clay and the blood of a sacrificed god.
Correct. And then they put that inside of Anunnaki or Anunnaki women and or females, and 9 months later came out the Adapa. So pretty cool stuff.
Let me interject real quick. So I heard a different version of the story because obviously there's several different versions of this story, right? Where it sounded like Enlil&Enki were sent. Well, it was
Enki came first.
Enki came first.
Well, Alalu.
Yeah, Enki came first,
Yeah.
and he was here to mine gold, and he was working with the people to do that. But then I guess it wasn't fast enough. They weren't working fast enough. So Enlil came down to crack the whip and say, "Hey, we need to get this going and move it faster."
Right.
But it mentioned that part mentioned that there was another race of beings called the Ijiji, and the Ijiji were working here, And during that time, the Ijiji started a revolt.
So the Ijiji were the lower caste, or the lower. Basically, imagine you have gods, and then you have like angels or messengers. So the Ijiji were the pilots, basically, that were piloting the machines and stuff like that. That they talked about, hey man, they revolted because they were upset that they had to now go dig and toil in the earth, and they go, this is not what we're licensed pilots, and we do all these crazy stuff. Like, this is manual labor. We don't do this. So they got upset at that.
And then
There was a revolt.
There was a revolt, and that's when they were wiped out. And then they started to re-engineer a new version, which is
Not all of them
technically-
were wiped out. There was a big war.
Yeah,
They threw a chunk out to make an example.
Yeah.
For sure. They fried them.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think there was definitely parts of the story that included that mankind were designed as a slave race, for sure. I mean, the creation of man was to mine gold or to do whatever, but that we were slaves, and it created this concept of slavery that began, 2200 years BC kind of thing, and also started a concept of a god race of kingships. And I think that this may even be the beginning of where the concept that kings came from the gods started. Certainly, from the research I was looking at, appeared to be that way with Enki and Enlil, and that mankind was just created as a slave race.
Right.
Right.
But also there was another difference in regards to what James was stating, where when they created us, I believe it was
multiple times.
Enki was the Brotherhood of the Snake, because he snuck in certain attributes that weren't supposed to be there.
So I can give
One
you
of those
specifics.
attributes
Yeah.
was being able to reproduce, and the reproduction got out of hand. So the gods kicked the humans, or the Adamu, out of Eden.
So yeah, okay. So to clarify where the snake comes from, the Brotherhood of the Snake, when Enki first came here, he landed and he was in a little area. Basically, when he went to go mine for gold, he was testing where the gold was at, and he found gold in the ocean, or in the waters. It was free flowing in the waters, and he started a little mining operation. And one of the first things he comes across is really funny. It's like 3 sentences long. He comes across a snake, and he goes, "What a foul freaking creature!" And he kills it. And then he goes, "You know what? I'm going to use this as my emblem." And so he actually painted it on his ride. It's pretty cool. So, I mean, he had a lot of time. He was on this planet by himself, and he was trying to gather gold from the water, and he said it was taking too long. That's where you were talking about that,
Right.
too long. It was taking too long to doing that. And then he's talking with Enlil, saying, "Hey, there is gold here." Alalu, who came here to the planet Earth first, basically escaped. And there was a whole story before that, but he was on the planet, and then Enki came because of Alalu, and then did his research and said, "Hey, it's right. There is stuff here. Go ahead, send everybody else for the big mining operation." And that's when Enlil came, and Enlil was the head dude. He was the next in line, underneath Anu, or An. So Anu was the head chief of all the Anunnaki.
Wasn't that where they got the name, right? Anu, and then Ki,
Naki.
Anunnaki, right?
Yeah, it means the shining ones.
Hmm.
So that they were light in skin, and had big, like, almond-shaped eyes that were like really creepy.
So although the stories talk about Nibiru, right? Nibiru,
The planet
that
Nibiru,
they came
the
from,
10th planet.
but they also said that wasn't their original planet. They came from another. They resided in a planet prior to that.
So they talk about their creation myth. That their creation myth was that they were brought there by something else. That's what I thought was always cool, is that they talk about that there's other things out there that's not them, and they don't know what it is, and those things trump them. Those things do things that they can't do, and they can't mess with it. And basically, they would tell their pilots, when you see them, do not engage. Do not mess with them. Those are just the messengers from the one.
I
don't know
found
what
it
they are.
really interesting that the research I was doing showed that, first of all, Enki's meaning was the production manager of the soil, and that Enki was definitely the ruler of Absu, which was the ocean under the earth.
Correct.
Now, Enlil, and so he had kind of this concept of being the creator. If you look at the lore of the Akkadian gods and such, he has the role of being the creator, bringing life from the living waters underneath the earth. And Enlil certainly seemed to me to be the destroyer. So
He was a
almost
general, yeah, military.
almost a polarity between the two of them, the creator, the destroyer, positive, negative, that type of thing. But one of the things that I found really interesting also was that the concept of at least within the ancient Mesopotamian theories of the deity was that they understood that not only was the Apsu a place under the earth, it was also a place in the heavens, in the skies. So it was almost like this concept of as as above, so below. So, a very, very, very maybe the beginning myths of kind of the alchemical, the whole concepts of oh, where am I going? You know what I'm talking about, the adept, and the polarity, and as above, so below, all of that type of stuff. So, very seems like the very beginning of stuff that went into alchemy and 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 theories from Kemet and the golden, or the emerald tablets, and Hermes, and future generations of similar concepts started early with this within the Mesopotamian deity concepts. At least that was what I was seeing.
When we start talking about the Mesopotamian, we're talking about the Fertile Crescent in Sumeria, and then we look further down, we're talking about Babylon and Marduk, right? We know there's a correlation between the two. So is that to say that the gods of Canaan, the Canaanites, adapted or adopted the same gods that the Sumerians had?
They were
I would
literally the offspring of
Of
those gods because they were the children. So in the Canaanite world, they were they were one with and living with the children of the Anunnaki, the offspring,
would
like the half breeds, the ones that were all mixed. So they lived hand in hand with them. They mainly it was agriculture.
Let's say if we look at that too, then one of the gods of the Canaanites was Yahweh,
So we get it.
right?
I'm glad you bring that up there, buddy. So when you look at Enlil, so Enlil, perfect intro here. Enlil, he's the Lord of the Wind. He's associated with wind, air, earth, and storms. He was a storm god, and that's what Yahweh was. So Yahweh was a storm god. So here, Ron, you were talking about Enki being kind of like this cool guy, like creator. So Enki was a scientist. So while he had his downtime, as machines were working, he was here by himself. He ran around and be like, "I'm gonna name that. I'm gonna name that. I'm gonna name that." Like he was putting his name on everything to be like, "I'm the scientist that claimed all this." To like the first one to research it, and he went around doing that, and like it was pretty cool. And then Enlil is all about like logic, logistics, how to get things done, to organize, to rule. Like he was very, very organized. He had a council. Everything was by the book. And Inky was completely opposite. That's why they say he was mischievous because he's like, well, screw it. Let's see what happens. It's experimentation.
So you have the protagonist and the antagonist.
Correct. And then just to break this off, I know we've talked about this on other episodes and stuff like that, but Inky and Enlil and the whole council of Anunnaki is where we get our 12 from. This is our 12 months, our 12 seasons, the 12 zodiac signs, the 12 houses were literally their houses. Each one had their own house. And this would denote who would take turns to rule over that council. So every procession basically somebody else would now be, I'm next in line, and then after me it was Mike. So we know that next year Mike has control, and then they're still voting and stuff like that. But this is where we get our 12. They had 6 fingers and 6 toes on each hand and each foot, so it's 12 and 12 and 12 and 12. 12 hours in a day and everything like that. And I just want to point out that who is it? He said somebody said he was tired and he wanted to sleep. Yes, when he said the humans were too noisy, Enlil was actually trying to sleep and he could not sleep because the humans were too loud.
The humans were too loud. Sounds like us.
Right. Pretty cool stuff.
That comment
But
was
in-
Dreebat, by the way,
Gotcha.
if that's how it's pronounced.
That's what I was looking for. Yeah, that was a good response. Somebody's been reading their books there.
So we're looking at from Samaria to the Canaanites, going into Israel.
Mhm.
We're looking at a change of well, the gods are still there. I mean, if we're looking at the Hebrews, they adopted that, right? If we want to look at it that way, they technically adopted it.
Yes, they adopted quite a lot. And this is before their time in Babylon.
So when they came back, when they went to Egypt and then they came back, they decided to just destroy everything that was not of their faith.
You want to get a little bit deeper into this one? I'm going to break this down a little
Go for
quick. Okay, you ready? So, Enlil, later on, you wonder what happens to him. He basically gets run out of the council, and Marduk takes control. Marduk is basically the first Messiah. He's the first Christ figure that you can go back to and see, and he usurps the Father. He takes control, and there's a huge revolt type of thing to where the masses now go to Marduk, and the gods still want control, but it's Marduk that has control. So Enlil fades away. He literally gets run out, and now he's gone. He's hidden, and he's on the run, and he's hiding. When Moses left Egypt, he went to when he fled Egypt, when he stole what he stole and killed the guard and buried him in the sand, he took off, and we found the sisters at the well, and he fixed the well for them, and he went and dwelled with them and got his wife and stuff. He asked, "Hey, what's up on that mountain? How come that mountain looks crazy?" And the old man goes, "Oh, there's a god that lives there. Like, we don't mess with him. As long as we leave him alone, he leaves us alone. It's a storm god." And then Moses is like, "Oh yeah, hold my beer." So
Hold my
hold
beer.
my beer.
Hold my wine.
So yeah, hold my wine. Yeah. So he went up there, and it was Yahweh. It's really fun. It's really weird or coincidence that Lord of Winds, the Lord of Storms, this storm god Enlil was on the run and hiding. And these guys, time and time and time again, love to hide inside mountains. This goes back to the wars they would have with each other. They would basically have these bunkers underneath mountains. And this is what Enlil was residing in, was in a mountain he was hiding. So he's the storm god, and now he becomes Yahweh. And what's the first thing Yahweh, has him do besides do all this stuff? He goes, "We're going to take back everything that I, Enlil, lost." So if you go back and you look at what each piece that Moses is taking, those are all the pieces that Enlil lost.
To Enki.
No, to Marduk.
Oh, okay.
Enki was dead already.
Oh.
Enki had perished, supposedly. I would think Enki would have faked his death just so he can go party, because he liked to party with humans. So, but he did. They say he died, and then Marduk, his one of his children, his grandchildren. It depends on what stories you're looking at. Took over, and basically, Marduk was robbed of his time when his sign and his house was now in the right spot. Enlil said, "Nah, let's just skip that. Let's forget that deal that we made, because you're too young and I just want to remain in power." So there was a big, huge war and stuff like that.
So there was a bunch of younger gods, right? So
They were the children, the younger
We're
gods.
talking about Marduk going to war with Tiamat.
So this is where you gotta be really careful, because Tiamat is a god, but it's way more than that. And then when you have Marduk, the later on in Sumerian time period, towards the end, things get really diluted because Marduk went around, erased gods, and said it was him. So this is where you get the stories really mixed up.
That's why I noticed that in a lot of these different texts, there was different versions of the stories, and some
Same
of the
stories,
names,
different
but
names.
different names. Yeah,
Correct. Because Marduk, so basically went around, smashed all their statues and stuff like that, and tried to erase their memory and try to put his face on it. Tiamat is a planet. So Tiamat was the first planet that was basically was Earth before Earth became Earth. So Tiamat was this huge planet. Nibiru basically came by, and because of Nibiru's gravitational pull on the orbit that it's on, pulled Tiamat apart, split in half. So it got ripped in half like an orange. Half of that piece of the planet Tiamat folded over on itself and became Earth. This is where the big, and then everybody's like, well, where's the big scar on Earth? Where would the scar be if our planet was ripped in half and then half of it closed in on itself? You know, like Pac-Man closing its mouth. Well, that would be, what's that trench called?
Mariana
The
Trench.
Marianas Trench. Correct.
Mariana Trench.
Correct. And not only that, well, where was all that other piece of Tiamat then that got ripped off? Where would that be at? Well, that's the Anunnaki call it the Hammered Bracelet, which is pretty freaking cool. So this is the asteroid belt that surrounds us, that protects us, right? And this is what protects us. Yeah, this is what protects us from basically invading objects, comets, meteors, and stuff like that. Like a large percent of the time, they're being destroyed by this Hammered Bracelet. What's cool is that we know that there is gold inside that asteroid belt. Okay.
A piece of it didn't break off and become the moon, or like is that?
Another piece did. They
Yeah.
said a smaller piece did come out to do that. Actually, Enki is given the title of moon creator. He created the moon. He needed an observation station to basically observe the solar system from where he was at, and he wanted a constant spot to where he could look out away from the Earth, and he needed it to be dark so that he could see the stars. He kept complaining. He built something that is too bright. The sun's reflecting off of this Earth. So he built the moon, and his station was on the dark side of the moon, because now you have a fixed point that's always looking out away from the Earth and spinning around. Really cool stuff. When you look at it, it's just when you look at this, everyone's like, BS, man, BS. Somebody just wrote that. Dude, this is on clay tablets from like
5,000 years
yeah,
ago.
just ridiculous. It's Star Wars, you know, and it's
So
these weird little facts that are there.
Let me interject there, James. Would that be the tablets of destiny? Is that what you're talking about there?
No, I'm just talking about just clay tablets that are
Could be the
all
Enuma
over, dude.
Elish. There's another name
Enuma
for the.
There's a bunch of them.
There's so many different texts.
So many.
It's hard to say, well, which one's the real one? We don't have one. You know, so there's different texts. Then you have Zachariah Sitchin's version, which, I mean, it's pretty much aliens, you know, coming
it's
down.
Fringe.
Right.
I mean, how much of it is esoteric, old, hidden knowledge, but how much of it is fringe?
You know what's
crazy
fringe?
alien?
I'm gonna say this. This is what's fringe. People always say this, right? We're humans, okay? And we are supposed to be living like animals, right? Let's say we didn't have any civilization, right? We're just like other animals. We ain't got no fur, man. We have no fur. We just die in the weather. The weather would kill us. Like we were not made to be like animals. Something is not right with that.
Well, then that's where you get the Brotherhood of the Snake, where he chose certain individuals to carry on certain traits.
So, okay. So when you talk about the traits, that was actually a bet. that was all from a bet from him and the head nurse. Basically, he said, you can create whoever you want with whatever disabilities, and I will find him a job amongst our civilization. And she goes, deal. So she made a guy with shaking hands, and he became the king's aide. She made a blind man. He became a storyteller. She created this and she created that. And then so basically she gave up. She lost the bet. And it doesn't really tell you what he won, what Enki won, but it was between Enki and Inanna. Was it Inanna? I think it was Inanna. But basically the head nurse, and he won the bet. And he even went as far as to piss her off a little bit more. He made a creation that was a baby with no eyes, no rectum, shaking hands, and crooked feet. And says, now you try to place this inside of a civilization.
That's
Give it a job. Oh, yeah, it was super messed up. And she said, there's no way this thing's not even going to live. He goes, then I guess you failed and I won again.
Was it Inanna or is it Ninhursag?
I'm gonna go with Inanna.
Yeah.
Was
It depends on what story you're going because they flip it. This is very similar to the situation when you have Greek and then Roman stories.
Right. Some of the names were interchangeable within
They were
different
interchangeable. Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it safe to say that all of these Middle Eastern religions are pretty much just
The same.
carbon copies of each other?
Correct. Different time
We
periods.
just change the timeline to fit our directive and put it out there like that.
I
Which
would
kind of
say yes.
sucks because, you really want the mystical to
Right.
be
Where do you get
mystical.
to the root of the truth, right? Right.
You
So-
can't get to the root of the truth, though.
James, I did want to comment on what you were saying about animals and the fact that we don't have fur and all, whatever what you were saying. But it is certainly interesting that humankind doesn't act like any other animal species on
We
this
are alien.
planet in the aspect of learning how to get along with each other, learning how to work for the good of the the clan, of working towards doing all of the things that every other animal group does. We are certainly closer to a virus. We just spread and spread and spread and don't care about, the only thing we're caring about is the procreation of
Staying
the
alive.
virus. Exactly. So that is an interesting concept.
So,
Right.
real quick, Inanna is Enki's daughter. Ninhursag was the wife. So the creating of the
She's like the head
people
nurse. I can look it up. I
No,
didn't
no,
write
yeah.
her down.
No, yeah,
Is
yeah,
it-
yeah. I have it up right now on Google. Yeah.
Isn't
Cool. There you go.
Inanna in the Canaanite version Ishtar?
Yes.
Ishtar.
And who
You are
else,
correct.
Who else is Ishtar?
Lilith.
Bingo, bango.
So like all these stories, they I was gonna talk about. You want to get really confused. You can look at the family tree. I mean, they were banging everybody. They were having kids with multiple.
Everything that moved.
Yeah, with all the other goddesses and other gods and stuff like that. Like is like Enki and Enlil had kids from like the same chick just to spite each other. Just it just gets really messy and really really weird. And then you look at another.
He had a bunch
Yeah.
of wives, right? I mean, he just kept moving on.
I would say he kept moving on. He really couldn't hold on to a wife because of his work. The only one that he liked out of all of them was the head nurse, the one that Brian was saying I can never pronounce. They loved
Ninhursag.
each other because they were sapiophiles. They were the only ones that could speak to each other without explaining anything to anybody else. Yeah, they were nerds. They were huge science nerds. Yeah, man, this guy's some really cool stuff. With Enlil and Enki. Enki, I think, is just a super cool dude. So it's clearly, you can see the metaphor or the analogy where you have Enlil as Yahweh and Enki as the serpent, as Satan, or
So
I
let's-
wouldn't even say Lucifer. It would just be Satan.
So let's talk about, so modern day religion now refers to, a lot of Christianity refers to the Bible, and the Bible has specific rules. But when you go back to Sumerian texts, you don't see any of those rules. As you said right now earlier, when they were doing the genetic engineering, they didn't have any rules. They said do whatever you want, and whatever we don't need or use, we'll just discard, right? But in
Yes.
Christianity,
Well,
life is the most important thing. But
no,
to them,
I'm gonna say no.
life is not.
I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say it's the same. So in the Bible, a lot of people think that, right? So in the Bible, God creates a choir of angels, and He tells them sing, and they sing out of tune, and He goes, not good enough, and He melts them all down, and then He creates another choir of angels that says
Where's
sing.
that in the Bible?
Right. So this
Where's
is the
that in
same
the
thing
Bible?
that Mike's talking about, but in the Bible, it's the same thing because it's the same story, just
I
shifted.
think Ron said wanted to know where's that come from in the Bible?
Man, I gotta get back to you on that one. This is the creation myths where he's basically taking this is before he created stuff. He saw light and he was playing with light. This is, also goes back to Ptah, which is a Sumerian god as well. And
Okay,
so
I don't
in
think
that,
I don't
yeah,
think that's I don't think that's biblical text, because I mean, when you talk about when you talk about the creation myths of the Bible of Yahweh, I don't remember anything about angels being talked about. I mean, Adam, Eve, man, everything on the earth, man had control of it, but I don't remember anything
Oh,
about. That's why
yeah,
I'm not calling it out. I'm just like, where was that? Because I don't specifically.
yeah. I'm just
Now,
talking about the Christian.
text.
I'm just talking about the Christianity that was the mainstream Christianity at the time, because you got to think about Christianity and Catholicism is brand new compared to all these other guys. This is brand new. Like AD 70 is when they created that story, and they removed all the other stories. So this is when he created the angels and saw what was good with them and what he can do with them. Then later he
So when
creates
you're talking about
Lucifer.
when you're talking about the Bible, you're talking about more ancient texts, not necessarily the canonized Bible that
Correct.
we're
Yeah,
familiar
because you
with.
can't understand
That's-
any of the. Yeah, you
got it.
can't understand any of the canonized books at all because they remove so much. They remove key
Yeah, I get it.
components.
Yeah, I
Yeah, to
know
understand it.
Enoch and all of that stuff.
Major Enoch. Yeah.
In Sumeria, you're talking about gods begetting gods, creating more gods, and creating demigods. And in the Bible, we're talking about God creating angels, right?
Right.
Which is technically the same thing because angels are well,
They're workers.
they're workers,
That's all they
but
do.
they have specific attributes that make them a little more supernatural or can
Right. They're more
control
than
elements or
they're more than
things like that.
a grunt. More than a grunt for sure. So, man was, it even says, and then to tie this in together, how the need for the Adamu, the worker, and the red clay man basically was in there, in the Bible. We'll go back to the Bible. God says, you will toil from the sweat of your brow, right? To go get food, to
Mhm.
go do anything, to do
Yep.
work. So this is
Yeah.
when he's literally, this is the connection talking about man is the worker to dig, basically, to dig in the earth. And this is that big connection that they have there. They could not remove that because that was a line that Enki says to the first one that he had in the Garden of Eden. Enki was the one who was running Eden. It's pretty funny. He actually tells them, they ask, hey, how come there's a wall here? He goes, I'm protecting you from all the other ones. They go, what's the other ones? Well, there's workers. And he takes them on like a little tour. It's like, look at these workers. He goes, what's the difference between me and you? He goes, I put more of me in you than I did in them. Because he was bored. He wanted to create something that wasn't a dumb worker. So there was
You want to play chess with somebody.
pretty much. It's pretty weird, like the different things that he talks about and that he sees, and he goes and he gets all these animals and stuff and experiments on animals, and then he, this doesn't work, this works, but then this one thing stood up in the tall grass and looked at me one day. I'm so excited. I can't wait to go back and figure out what the hell that was. And he grabs that and he messes with that.
And to the people listening in, you guys can ask questions. This is live. I want to hear your feedback and any information you may have that we may have missed. So, with that being said, It sounds like the story is just being told different ways over and over again throughout time, and then one became really, really famous. And
Right.
Yeah.
obviously that's Christianity, right? But that one it changed over time.
It's a telephone game.
You have Jesus now. It's completely,
Marduk.
but in a different way. Because if you look at the way Jesus is portrayed in Christianity, it sounds like Buddha, right?
Well, Buddha was killed the same way. He was killed by the evildoer on a tree. He was crucified on a tree. Most people don't know this. I forget the exact Buddha. There's like fucking
There's
like,
three of them.
yeah, I forget I forget which one.
Buddha.
It was the Buddha it was a Robin Hood figure that was the evil guy. And he had like these crossbow things and he shot Buddha onto a tree while he was meditating underneath it and crucified him on a tree. Which just really blew my mind because when you go back and look at Jesus, he was crucified and yada yada. It's all very, very similar.
Hmm.
Hmm.
This is, well, I want to say
Goes on forever.
it's something we can't really put a finger on, but at the same time, we know it's there. Like, so for instance, the Sumerian creation and the epic of Gilgamesh. We're looking at this and we're looking at it from perspective of creation, where we're talking about, okay, it was aliens. Aliens came down, they re-engineered us, and then they started doing things here that, you know, uh, kept this planet going. But when you look at it from the perspective of the Canaanites and the Hittites, it's very obvious that they adapted. Well, what James said earlier was the sons of those gods became their gods. But when I found out, and I didn't know this until recently, when I found out that Yahweh was a part of those Canaanite gods, that really threw a curveball at me, because when you're brought up Catholic, right? Christianity, God, Yahweh, that is all the end all be all. There is
Yep.
no
Mhm.
there is no other. Anything else is bullshit, right?
Right, right.
But
Yep.
the truth is, the real hardcore truth is that statement is bullshit, because it's not true. We're talking about gods that existed before Yahweh.
Yeah, so he says one of the commandments basically is worship me first before any other god, for I am a jealous God. So here, in this sentence specifically, what you have in the beginning, what you're talking about, this is Genesis. He in that paragraph, man, he is attributing to himself human attributes, jealousy. Um, he repents later on. He gets so mad at Adam and Eve for what they do that he repents for making them. I can't believe I made you. I shouldn't have never made you. It caused me so much problem. So it's crazy that he would say that right in the opening book.
One of the real questions is if this information's available, well, faith is a motherfucker, to tell you the truth, because there's some real zealotry going on out there where people take this and they're like, no, this is it, and this is the way we're going to be, and this is how it is.
It's the format that
But
that
when
they
you
are choosing. That's all that is.
When you listen to certain things, like when God was looking for Adam and Eve in Eden, he couldn't find them.
Mhm.
Wait a minute. You're God,
Right.
all
Right.
seeing, all knowing,
All
right?
knowing, all
Right.
seeing.
This is the question I've asked in church all the time. I will give you the answer they gave me.
Okay, fucking go for it.
Okay.
Shoot.
They said that basically when it says that God was walking down a path and noticed Adam and Eve donned on clothes, which they donned on a fig leaf. That's what it was. They covered themselves. And he goes over, I just happened to be walking down this path, and there you guys are, and you put leaves over your private parts. Why'd you do that? So he starts asking them all these questions. And it's just like, so basically I asked the church, I was raised Catholic, and I was kicked out in 3rd grade, but hey. So I asked him, why is he doing this? If he's all powerful, all omnipotent, all omniscient, why is he asking this question? And they told me, well, it's like imagine if a child looks at a glass of milk on a table in front of their father and knocks it over. A father's going to be like, why'd you do that? There's no answer, but you want the child to to think about it, to question what they did. I get that. That makes a lot of sense, but not in this in this context. You know, that there's a lot of stuff that's missing. You know, when you have, like Mike was saying, you know, Christianity and Catholicism is a new format that people are using to practice their faith and to circumnavigate their passions, you know, to limit themselves from murdering, raping, pillaging, and destroying their neighbors and stuff like that. But, you know, these are stories that are taken over and over and over and over, and it's like the telephone game. At some point, you know, Catholicism and Christianity chose specifically what they wanted and specifically what they did not want. And the attributes, the sayings, the pieces of a story that they liked and the pieces that they did not like. And those things, or the metaphors or the analogies that those stories gave to the reader. And what they did was basically they threw it in a little waste bin called Satan. And anything that they did not like, they made Satanism. And it's a big running joke. 'Cause, I mean, in the end, you know, there's still a lot of things about Christianity and Catholicism that you'd be like, wow, I mean, it's a little bit, I mean, I'm not a Satanist or anything, but I'm just saying from that point of view, you have somebody who wants you to eat their flesh and drink their blood, right? That's like a zombie type thing, right? That's kind of weird when you look at it. Oh no, that's not what it means though. That's not what it means.
Bullshit.
But I'm just saying,
Yeah.
he rose,
you know-
he rose out of the dead, right? He was a zombie, and now he wants you to eat his flesh and drink his blood. That's Bacchus and Dionysus. That's vampirism.
Mhm.
You know, it's all these things. You have to look at that. You can't say no. I can say that this Satanist person over there drinking blood out of a skull is disgusting, but I'm gonna drink hypothetical blood out of a golden cup, and it's just Cheerio. You know, it's a big difference. Like, you can't just say that. You have to take, well, where'd you get that from? Yeah, you're mixing 18 different religions into one. You know, you're taking the Eucharist, which is like Hecate ritual, and then a Bacchus ritual, and you're mixing them all together.
Yes, and then that's where you get the kukion. If you add the psychedelic mushroom, you get the kukion, and then you have the real Holy Sacrament. Now that real Holy Sacrament took your ass to go meet some serious gods in your head, and that's where you really woke up and say, "Whoa, what did I just see?
You know-
what did I experience? What did
I
what
just
happened?"
want to say Mike just spoke
Circle
pure
back,
fire.
though. Mike definitely had it from the beginning that this is definitely a telephone game, starting with
Correct.
these early stories. I mean, even Christianity and Catholicism using biblical text. I mean, these ancient biblical texts weren't even their texts. I mean, we're talking about they were Hebrew, you know, Aramaic. They were Hebrew texts. They were come on now, help me out here.
Babylonian?
Middle Eastern, the
Hyksos?
other.
Hyksos?
What's that?
The Hyksos people?
No. Yes, no. The other major religion that's in the Middle
Muslims?
East right now, Muslims. It was
Islam.
it
Okay,
was
Islam.
it was text from Islam, and it was texts. It was Hebrew text. It was you know, that Christianity took from to create their new religion. And so it was still a continuation of the telephone game. And when you talk about the Epic of Gilgamesh, was the earlier version of that, the flood stories and Enki and Enlil, you know, was all it's just this continued overlapping of religions and overlapping of peoples that are taking over regions and then incorporating their ideas and their beliefs into new areas and using some of the old stuff. So it's crazy.
So when you look at things like Satanism or Satan in general, right?
The wastebasket.
We look at it and we have this visualization, these pictures. There's the inverted cross. I mean, I'm sorry. The inverted cross and the inverted star.
The pentagram, yeah.
It's all bullshit.
It's things that they didn't like and that they could not fit or get rid of to basically conduct their agenda. You know, the things that did not go along with their agenda
They just demonized. They absolutely demonized. Well, they demonized it for that specific reason, man. It's bullshit, man. Like, if you look at it from that perspective, when you're talking about somebody who's a Satanist, you're literally believing in something that really doesn't exist. I mean, we could say that about a lot of things, right? You say that about anything. I mean, there's the spaghetti monster. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You can believe in that. It's just, and all these things. I'm not knocking any religions or any faith or anything. But I'm just saying, people are choosing whatever faith or whatever religion has a format to live by. How the hell do we get away from that, though? That's the real. How do we get away from it? Hold on. There's somebody saying the audio sounds wonky. Give me 1 second.
Here.
Hey, Ron, take over for like a second till we fix this
Yeah,
part.
I was dealing with it also. I was
sounds
trying
like
to log out.
sounds like your back mic. Sounds like you're good.
Oh, okay. Cool. I don't know why that
Yep.
happens. It's
Yeah.
just
I'm good.
Discord.
Yeah.
But whatever. Either way. But if we look at things like, okay, well, let's look at this religion, let's look at that religion. I mean, fuck, if it doesn't serve us as humans, and I'm talking like humans right now in 2021, if it doesn't serve us as humans, why the fuck even?
Why are we still doing it?
Yeah,
Right,
it's
right,
not
right.
working, so why don't we, create something new that actually works?
Right. There's a famous guy that I think people may know, but this guy. But there was a famous guy a really smart guy, gave lectures, and at one of his lectures, he held up a book. He said, "This one book has killed more people than all the modern wars together."
It was the Bible.
And it was the Bible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he was not wrong.
Well, if you think about it, look at all of Latin America, dude. Like all the colonization of Latin America was based off of,
spreading the word of
spreading
Jesus.
the word of Jesus and killing
It
them
happened
all.
here.
Killing in Jesus'
in
name.
Europe, too.
Yeah,
all of
it
the-
happened
all-
everywhere.
Right.
Ancient Celt colonies and
Exactly.
the Vikings, and they were all being wiped out by
Celts, the Vikings. I mean,
Yep.
Druids, all of them, man. They're
Right.
all converted to the new God, that wants
The
you
new
to
God,
obey.
the new way. Hmm.
And if you don't obey, you're going to hell.
Or they literally just sent in their armies and wiped everybody out and
Or I
said
just
in
don't
Christian
want to go to
pilgrims.
hell. I would just rather go to,
Valhalla.
yeah.
Valhalla
I'd rather go to Valhalla. It sounds more fun.
Right.
Like you get to fight every day, and then at the end of the
You
day,
die, and then
you
at
eat,
the end
you
of the
feast, get
day,
drunk,
you
and then
got
you
a
do it all
beard,
over again.
You
You
go
do it all
battle,
over
and
again.
you get a spear through your chest, and then
Yeah,
when you
yeah.
wake up, you got a beard.
You got a beer.
Oh,
and
come
you're ready.
on, man.
That sounds like a better deal to me.
I'm going to choose
dude.
that one. Because you know what? If you think about it, in that one, right, these guys are supposed to be heathens. Women had rights. Women could say no, and it was no.
And women could go to war.
They had
handle
control of their
business.
own body.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty crazy. I mean, that's outlandish
that
to
was-
think, to give
that-
somebody permission.
That was
over their own
another
body.
thing that I was finding in looking at the aspects of Enki and Enlil and Anu, was that it certainly appeared to me that it was the beginning of the death of the sacred feminine. It was a very patriarchal, controlling concept of a masculine energy that was taking over. And, I know it's a very, very ancient religion and ancient deity system, but it certainly seemed like that was something that was stuck out to me when I was seeing that, when it was, Enki moving from wife to wife to wife and not caring, and the wife's trying to have control or be a part of it or doing something, and yet it seemed like a very masculine dominated concept, at least. That
A
was
lot of the times, Enki would get chased out. They got tired of his stuff, so they kind of booted him, or he was just on his way, or they were doing something.
Which sounds very much like Zeus.
Very much.
And it sounds very much like Odin,
Yeah.
right? 'Cause
Right.
both of those gods had the same problem.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes you think maybe there was certain parts that were taken from that into Norse mythology.
Right.
I can't confirm that, but if we look at this origin, right? Because we're all taught this in school that, Sumeria was a fertile crescent, and that was the first civilization. That's where it started. That's where it all started.
Babylon was
You know
Babylon
what's
was
funny? It was funny just to tell you. You said that's the first place that it started.
Mhm.
So Sumer was actually built on an even older city. It's just 100 feet under mud.
Is it called Gogebli or Go?
Gibloteki.
Yeah.
That's in Turkey,
Oh, okay.
and I would love to go there, but no.
So what's the name of this place?
They say it in the stories. That's where they were at before, and then when the floods came,
well, supposedly Babylon was built on top of Apsu. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, there's all kind of stories. You have like the world of the land of the dead was in Africa where they were mining, and all the mines that they had dug, they made it like bases or living quarters underneath this. This actually brings into another story where, or Enki, this is in the story called the Descent of Inanna. Enki tries to get his daughter rescued from the underworld after she is killed by her sister, Erishkigal, by sending two clever demons, which is really cool because once you read about the demons and you hear their attributes and stuff, they're more like androids or like robots, to trick the Queen of the Dead into giving them Inanna's corpse. It's pretty cool. These, just to give you a little, I swear I'm not making this up, but these two clever demons had sexual organs,
Oh, did they?
and they were infested with STDs.
Oh.
It was pretty cool. So basically, he sent a party gift for them to go party with because they like to partake of the flesh. It was very common for these gods to do that. So he sent them a little Trojan horse. No pun intended for the condom there, but he threw that in. He threw that in, and yeah, and it's crazy because she was going to, and then she tells the other people around her, "Hey, don't mess with these things. I know Inky.
Don't mess with
Yeah,
these
he's a
guys.
mischievous person. He gives you something. They look amazing, but there's something wrong.
But you get chlamydia.
Yeah, they have these things like, and they describe them and stuff. I'm gonna let you guys go look at it. Again, it's called The Descent of Inanna. It's pretty cool. One of my favorite
The
stories.
Descent of Inanna. She had that ill Nana.
Yes, right. That's right. So, like you were saying, Ron, the murder of the female deity or the female aspect in religion is 100% due to Christianity and Catholicism. That's not a no-brainer. That is not somebody's idea or opinion. This is 100% facto. You can look at it historically, and you can see them. You have the Father, the Son.
well, we
Yeah,
definitely
and you
know
just had
that.
the
but
mother, but now you have the Holy Ghost because she's literally dead.
I was just saying that the Akkadian deity certainly looked like it had an earlier aspect of that exact same thing of the death of the sacred feminine.
Yeah. I'm going to respond to Mascara here. He's saying, I remember hearing that hell was an actual place in the Middle East in the Bible, a place where trash and fire and dogs. You are absolutely 100% correct. This is not Golgotha, whatever, where Jesus was killed. That's very similar to that. But this was a valley that they took all their trash and the rotting corpses of criminals. So hell literally means what they were saying by that, you're going to go to hell if you're bad, is if you're a criminal and you are tried and you are killed legally by the court system, they will take your body and throw it into this valley that they're using as a dump, as a landfill.
I was going to say you're going to the landfill. You're going to the trash.
Literally,
bin.
that's what it was. I forget the name of the place. People would actually they created roads around this place because it stunk so bad.
Ew.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool place, but you are 100% correct, Mascara.
And then they
Good
had
little thing there.
low
That's
income
awesome.
housing right next to it.
Probably. A bunch of McDonald's everywhere in Taco Bell. Oh, that's a good one.
Projects.
But yes, that is correct, Mascara. Good times. That's a good answer.
This was a good topic.
It's a
I really
good
like
topic.
delving into creation myths and
It's my specialty.
referencing the creation of us with clay.
Mhm.
There are other religions that say the same thing. The Popol Vuh, which is the Mayan religion, the first created man out of clay. Then they created man out of wood, and
Those are the other brothers.
yeah.
So
It was just it's just you hear similarities in stories and makes you wonder. Okay, the telephone game really changed when it got to the Mayans, right? It went into a whole other area of interest there being
Well, and
them being the underworld.
how did that telephone game get all the way across that big
That
giant
right
ocean?
there, right?
That's a great
That right
question.
there, and it's always it comes from the
Oh,
feathered serpent in the sky,
the architect, yeah, the
right?
architects,
The
because
heart of sky.
they're building the same pyramids
Quetzalcoatl.
everywhere. Yeah.
It's interesting to hear these stories, and then you look at ancient aliens, and you're seeing these guys talk about the well, it's not the possibility, it's kind of a fact now if you think about it. These aliens came down here, engineered us, and here we are. You know, we didn't exist before. We're talking about the missing link, that time between those people and the missing link. That was that moment, right? That was that moment where something or someone came down and destroyed us, or I'm sorry, created us. So yeah, it's it's very interesting. There's a lot of hearsay, he said, she said. We're not going to know the truth, man.
We're not gonna know the truth.
We're not going to know the
But
truth.
it's you can clearly see this echo that takes place across all of
But
humanity.
realistically, with what we know in science, I believe that there was an alien race that came down here and engineered us.
Right.
Because
we are aliens.
To
man.
really look at what we were before versus what we are now, that's just too hard to believe that we just sprung out of nowhere, right? So there was some type of creation that led us to better understanding of ourselves, and we're still learning that to this day. We're still trying to understand who we are, and
We are a race with amnesia.
that right there, because I believe if we're able to really work together and put our minds forward as a whole, as a community, as a people, a human race. I'm not talking about cultures or anything. I'm talking about everyone. Then imagine what we can accomplish. Imagine what we can do. Imagine what we can build, right? That's just food for thought.
Yeah, and hopefully we are getting to that point in our evolution where we are waking up and beginning to remember, and we'll start working together towards the betterment of the human race.
That's the age of Aquarius. That's the age that we're in right now. They said this would be the time that we start waking up and we start shifting our consciousness into something greater.
Do you think right now that there's a shift in consciousness where people are kind of seeing like topics that we're talking about right now, and then realizing, hey, you know what?
Wait a minute.
What we were taught as children isn't
Right,
real,
right.
but these concepts, these new concepts that talk about other races of aliens or things that happened in the past is more legitimate. It's more digestible.
Mhm.
I absolutely believe that we are, and from what I've heard from some really great teachers is that the reason why we're going through what we're going through now with these divisions amongst peoples is because these are the final growing pangs of trying to hang on to those old ways and old thoughts and that old consciousness that we know, because as we've talked about many, many times, change is hard, and we are a changing race right now. We're a changing culture. We're the age of Aquarius. We're waking up. We're elevating our consciousness, and it's hard, and we want to hang on to those old ways. So I have to believe that it's the time. It's where we're at, and the shit that we're going through right now with so much division and pain and just frustration is because we're just being, it's the metamorphosis. It's
Order
the
out of
fucking
chaos.
the butterfly coming out of the fucking cocoon. It's not easy. It fucking hurts and it's hard, but
Change hurts, man.
Change hurts.
we're turning into something else, and it's got to be happening.
Yes, I agree. I do feel. I'll try to answer my own question, but I do feel that we are we are seeing more and more information out there that makes better sense, and when you start to research the books and you start to go back, you start working backwards, then you see that, wait a minute, this is kind of, it really does make sense. because we translate these ancient Sumerian texts to today, and realistically, it sounds like aliens coming down here, engineering and changing things.
And
And
even if it isn't aliens, is it not that far-fetched that there was an ancient civilization that was advanced, more advanced than we are now? Look at what look at our capabilities. Look what we're doing with science and manipulation and genes and computers and the amazing things that we're doing now. Is there not a possibility that there was already a civilization here 40,000, 50,000, a million years ago that was doing the exact same thing? And then a bunch of dumbasses that didn't understand it, that started writing it down, documented it as things that they could only comprehend as far
it's a
as God
fiery chariot.
and,
Right.
and
Right.
creation and exactly fiery
A
chariots. I mean,
feathered serpent came from the sky.
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Mm-hmm.
A fiery
It's pumping.
bird flew down
Right. I always tell people, like,
and
imagine
pooped on me.
if I had like an Apache helicopter, you know, that had like the cool like shark's mouth on the front of it, the paint. I just landed in like the rainforest somewhere, some Aborigine tribe that has never seen
Yeah.
another human,
Yeah.
and I was like, I'm a god and dragon.
Yeah.
This
you're
is my
God.
dragon, and they go, no, you're not a god and that's not a dragon. I'm like, cool,
So-
hold on one
so
second. I
let's-
get in and I
let's-
kill him. Now I'm a god with a dragon.
Yeah. So let's just say, we're able to go to other planets now ourselves. Just
We're gonna do
we're
the
able to
same
go
damn
to other
thing.
planets, and we have technology, right? And those planets that we're choosing, they don't have technology. They're
But why
us
would we go to another planet, Mike?
to take their resources?
Resources.
So
Huh.
if we were to go to another planet, who's to say we're not going to try to act like gods or possibly
The
pass
same
ourselves
damn
off like
thing, dude.
gods? Or we're going to say, no, we're you. We're just smarter.
That
Right? Or
is
we
a
just
possibility.
understand
That's
we
like
understand things a
gods.
little bit better,
Mhm.
So the right thing, the nice thing to do would be like, no, wait, come here, dude. Let me put you up on some game, and let me teach you. Let me show you how you build a house, or how you create metal, or smelt metal.
Now work for me.
Now, see that the greed kicks in,
Right.
and I think the greed is in our genome.
Yep.
And it's unfortunate, man, because again, what could happen if we were to able to do the complete opposite of that? What can we build?
Yeah. There's a bunch of stuff that's out there that's just you can think about it forever. It'll just keep going.
Yeah, you're right. It's a vicious circle.
So you were pointing out like these guys are writing down stuff and they're saying these symbols they would see on a vehicle or whatever the heck that they were seeing that was flying around or on the water. They would say it was in the shape of a serpent, or that thing was a serpent, or that was a goat. And then you look at today, you guys ever been stuck on a freeway? You start looking at all the cars. You got like a Ram, you got Jaguar, you got all these animals, you got gods on all these things. Or you look at like the containers that go out on the ships, right? They're like God's names that are on there, the Poseidon, and this and that. It's all the same thing. All the gods are like moving mass quantities of resources, or they're in fancy cars or
Or the
weird
gods
vehicles.
were just us with better tech,
Correct.
with Facebook back in the day.
Right. Imagine that. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine these guys taking selfies? Look at this
Oh,
stupid human I
dude.
just convinced
Doing TikToks.
doing TikToks. Can you imagine them
Kill
just
me.
landing
Kill me
and then
now.
getting out, like
I
doing
don't
the
wanna
Running
exist.
Man? And they just get back in the ship and get
No.
out, and the Indians were like, "What the hell was that?"
And this is where we stop the show. So, guys, this was a cool show. It was fun again. How about you? Anybody you want to shout out to? Ron.
Go for it.
I want to shout out to Mascara. Thanks for piping in and giving us some feedback tonight. We always appreciate you, brother. We know you support us, and we appreciate it.
All right, James, you got anybody?
As usual, my part is I'm going to say shout outs to all the local shop owners. There is Sal at A Crooked Path. Go check him out if you're in the LA Basin. Points of Light with Rhapsody. You have so many other people that are out there. Shop local.
Shop local. Speaking of shop local, to all the brothers that do listen, I do implore you to buy Masonic. And what I mean by that is there's a bunch of pages out there that pretend to be Freemasons to sell you this cheap, whack ass gear when there's
Knockoff.
so much cool shit out there right now. And what I mean by that,
Who would
is
that be?
Brothers in Bonds.
Oh,
It's Sanctum Secretum, Ascended Masters Clothing, Fraternal Ties, Masonic Gear Shop, and there's one more. I think Masonic Revival. And
Real brothers making real stuff
yes,
and
yes.
supporting the craft. Support
Yeah,
them.
make
back.
sure you're buying from brothers, man, because some of this is how they make a living. This is their art. It's unique. It's not this cheap crap that you're getting off of Amazon. You know, I would just rather somebody, hey, if you're gonna buy from a brother, and you know, just spend the money on that, man. That's all I gotta say. So with that being said, I want to say what's up to Channel Islands Lodge. Hey, what's up, you guys? Hope you're doing well. NoHo 542, Panamericana, Whittier Lodge, and Downey Lodge.
I'm gonna shout out
and South Pass.
I'm gonna shout out to Merced Lodge. Up here in the area, I've been visiting them. I went to Turlock Lodge. I've gone out to Mariposa, and there's another lodge up in the mountains that I'm going to be cruising to. I'm going to Mariposa this coming Saturday as their stated meeting. So I've already had the pleasure to see 2 elections. I'll get another election on Saturday because November
drama.
is election month. Well, it's just long stated meetings, but no, those are my shout outs up here in the new area, and I'll be looking forward to joining Turlock Lodge pretty soon. So
my last shout out. I'm gonna give a shout out to all the fans that are out there. If it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be doing what we do. We wouldn't be here. This conversation does continue when the show does end. It continues online through all of our social media stuff. Please add. Please send to your friends. Please follow us. Please join in the community of conversation.
And with that, make sure you comment in the comment section under this video and let us know your thoughts. Let us know your afterthoughts.
Let us know what else you guys want to hear. What other shows you guys want. If there's something we're missing, if there's other topics you guys want to hear, hit us up. DM us. You just got our Instagram handles that are out there, or on Facebook. We do talk back. Hit us up.
Check
With
out
that,
keepersoftheword.net. You can also send messages through that outlet.
for sure.
yes. And then we
Indeed,
also
indeed.
opened up recently a new page, Keepers of the Word podcast. So check that out, like, follow, subscribe to that. And that is where we're going to have our own vlogs and thoughts and our personal content. So we still have the other page, but we're branching out to give you more content, more curated content.
It's just a little
Yeah, we'll
place
have
to
to make-
separate the memes from the podcast.
Correct.
The characterish, the characters from the characters. Something
That.
like that.
That.
That part.
right there.
Cool.
All right, Mike.
All right, guys.
Ron?
Well, that